What's going on, Evenant? Big Jar, back with you again. This time, we're going to be making some ARPs. Cool. This is what this sound's going to sound like. Okay, there we go. That's the ARP that we're going to be making. ARP is like an arpeggiator sort of thing. So with one note, it's going to arpeggiate through, well, a chord or random notes that we select. Notice that if I could show you over here, this all was made with one note. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to show Serum how to automate through notes that we can pre-select in Serum, which is pretty cool. I'm also going to show you how to turn that feature off, so if you like the sound, you could use it with the notes that you'd like too. So it's a very versatile synth that we're going to be making today. Cool, let's get into it. All right, so first off, let's look at the note that we're going to be keying here, and that's going to be a C3. I've decided to just go crazy and just use a bunch of different notes. I guess that just shows that it doesn't really have to all work at one specific note. It doesn't really matter where we're at. Cool. So I've got myself a blank Serum right here. Let's start designing this. So we're going to start with our first oscillator. I'm going to go in under analog. I'm going to go down to the Juno. And we're going to use this wavetable right here. So if we listen to what this sounds like right now, it's not going to sound so great. Yeah, it's just that C3 being played. But we're going to start making that happen right now. So the first thing we want to do is start making it take a little bit of shape. So that's what we use our first oscillator for. So let's drag that right to the level and we'll start creating this shape. So we'll do something that comes up and down and then up and down again, but maybe we'll make it do a little bit less this time. So cool, let's drag this all the way over, something like this, and we'll use these as our kind of anchor points here. Notice that this is right in the center, so that's halfway. Okay, so that's going to make kind of two shapes here. Great, let's hear what this sounds like. We'll put it on trigger. Amazing, so we're already getting there. All right, next we're going to give it some unison to give it some voices. 7 sounds good. Lucky number 7. Bring it in a bit. Already you can hear the difference there. Cool, cool. Let's get this wavetable moving a little bit. A little bit like that. Something looks cool there. Let's see. Awesome. You could already feel that kind of moving. And you guys know I don't like too much randomness, so let's pull those back. Cool, cool. Perfect. And let's go ahead and add some FM from B. So we'll go over here, turn B on, level down, octave up, and FM from B. Let's add some of this jazz over here. Starting to take a nice little shape there. Why not go ahead and finesse this guy a little bit with some bend, right? Plus minus. Actually, I kind of like that. What if we open that up like that? Let's do that. Quite like that. We'll take it like that. Trigger and maybe... Very cool. I love that. It kind of evolves over time. Sweet. So our first two oscillators are looking pretty good. Let's go back here, make sure we're looking good. Awesome. So what I'm going to do now is add this guy, but we're not going to use it like a sub. We're going to use it to design the sound a bit. So I don't know. Let's go for like one of these pulsars here. And all right, let's bring this guy in. Bring him. Whoops. Bring them down. Cool, just for a little bit of depth. And we're going to use our noise oscillator. Going to go down to like air can 2. And let's hear what that sounds like. Cool, but let's put the key tracking on. Boom. And and add our shape to the level. Cool. Between these two, they're very subtle, but they're adding this dimension to our sound that makes it just sound a little more believable. All right. So we're pretty much through our oscillators. Let's get into the filter. All right. MG low pass 12. Bangarang. That's what we're going to be adding right there. Basic one. And we've got oscillator A, sub, and noise are all active. This one is, it's influencing this one, but it's not like loud active. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure all three are going through my filter. And I want to put this shape on the cutoff, and I don't want it to go that way. So remember, it's Shift, Option, or Alt, and then click, and then it changes that. So we're going to want it to be like that. Let's see what that sounds like. Awesome. And if you remember in the little demo I did in the beginning, this went from a plucky type ARP to a full-on open one, depending upon how you wanted to use it. So I'm going to go over here, grab one of these mods and macro 1, and go over here. And what I'm going to do is, at down here, it'll be plucky like it was. And as I open it, it'll be full on. Perfect. So we'll go ahead and call this filter. Okay, and that'll be able to open and close this guy right here. Cool, we'll leave it like that for right now. And all of our oscillators that are being played are going through it. Let's give it a little bit of drive, since we are taking away some of the sound. Love that. Okay, so before we move on to the fun part, I got two little housekeeping things I want to do. I want to go over here and bring this polyphony down to 1, meaning notice that these this is worth mentioning now. As we make these sounds with all these unisons, notice that these go up. If I turn this down, see those voices go down, right? So if I turn this back up to what we want, they go up. And if it's all the way up here, well, then it goes up a lot. You see what I'm saying? So I like to, and that's just hard on your computer. So when you're making these big super saws or these big ARPs and you want them to sound full and rich with all these unisons and voices and stuff, keep an eye on how many poly you have. And really what this means is how many notes are you going to be playing at once with this? And since it's an ARP, and we're most likely not going to play a chord with an ARP, so we could bring it all the way down to 1 and help our computer out a little bit. Cool. The next bit of housekeeping I'm going to do is I want this to move a little bit. The reason I use these air cans and stuff is to add this texture in the background, and I do want it to move a bit. So this will help it just move a little bit more. We don't really notice it. It's there, but it's there to add texture and movement. So I'm going to help it out with the pan a little bit. So I'm going to bring this to trigger, and let's see what this sounds like. So now for the fun part. Follow me over to the matrix, where we'll go down to the bottom, and we'll turn on LFO4. We haven't used that one yet. Notice, here we go, another little pro tip, that when you go up to LFO4, you just get another one. So you do have more than 4 LFOs when you need them, but they don't show up until you need them, so they save you a little bit of space. Great. So now we got this guy, and we're going to go LFO4. And we're going to go here, and the only place to find this particular setting is going to be in the matrix. So I'm going to grab the global master tune. And the reason I'm going to do this is because, you know, it'll control everything. So most people would try to control the coarse or the semitones on your oscillators. Then you'd have to do it on each oscillator. You'd still get the same result, but how would you control your sub or your noise oscillator? You wouldn't. Not unless you knew about the master tune. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go here and get the master tune. And then here's another weird thing about Serum. If you would think that if you wanted it to be 12 semitones, you would just pull it up to 12, but that's not the case. It's like a percentage thing. So what you do is you double click, you write 12 semitones with the actual ST, you hit it, and then if you notice, it's 9. I don't know why it's 9, but that's an octave. So now we're going to go here, and this is going to control our tuning. Well, I'm going to show you what I mean. So notice that notice this guy right here. This is very important. So if we're going to work here on our tuning and we want this to be the 0 point, like the actual root note, then this has to be on this one. Okay. Otherwise, if it's back and forth, well, that means that the 0 point would be in the middle and I can go either above or below the pitch, but that's not what I want to do. I want the pitch to be at the bottom and I want to be able to go up. So all the way up is going to be an octave and all the way down will be the other octave, and then the notes will be in between. So we want this to go just the one way. So this is a very important part of the step here. Make sure you're doing this. Great. So here we go. If I hold shift, notice that I could use these I can move them in conjunction with the grid size. Great. So I'm going to build a cool little shape here for you. So let's take the first guy, go up an octave. We'll skip a couple. We'll go here, take it up to halfway. We'll skip another one and bring it down just one. Oh, I want to go actually up. Doop, doop, doop. Very cool. So we're actually using this to create notes based on the relation of, and you can see that it's not like, you're not getting, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. See, yeah, you're getting 9. Maybe that's even where maybe that's where they got the 9 from. I didn't know. Cool. So, right, I don't even know what that means. 9 out of 9 is a note. So in between these things are notes too. So this isn't the most like exact musical scale type thing, but you could definitely use this to create some really cool textures here. Very cool. So what if you like the sound we made and you're like, oh, but I don't love that thing all the time, or maybe it's great to use in one song, but you're like, I like this arpeggiator and I can make my own melodies just right on the, right on the grid there or whatever with a piano roll. So that's what I'm going to do here for you. We're going to go back into the matrix, and remember we used on one of our other sounds the auxiliary source, and we're going to do that here too. We're going to grab auxiliary source, go down to our macro 2, and this means when it's down it'll just be regular, and when I pull it up, super. One last thing I want to do here is add like a glide in between these. And a little hack I found for that is using the smooth knob. So what this is going to do is smooth out the jumps in between each of these increments here. And it's actually going to add a bending effect. Let's check this out. Let's turn it up a bit more. Super cool, super cool. So all we have left now to do is add a little bit of effects to tighten this up, and we got ourselves a pretty dope, versatile, usable ARP. Okay, before we head over to the effects, I want to just add a little bit of playability to this arpeggiator thing here, this rate. So I'm going to grab this and bring it over here, and again, I don't want it to go both ways, just one way, so that's Shift, Option, Click, and I'm going to bring it back, so it's just going to click up one time, so... Perfect. So we'll just click this and name it rate. Bangarang. Okay, on to the effects section. This isn't going to require a lot of crazy effects. Let's just do a little distortion on tube to brighten it up a bit. And why not add a little bit of finesse? Just gonna inject a little bit of drive into it at this level. Perfect. And next we can go ahead and kind of just glue this whole thing together with our multiband. Let's bring our time and we're going to leave our attack up a bit, right, so we can let the transients come through. Bring our release down, and yeah, let's dial it in. Why not get ourselves a little more compression? That is much more controlled. You see that? That's kind of what the OTT is great for. It's great for evening out sounds and really controlling it. Let's hear the difference. 100%. Awesome. It just brings everything to the front and evens the sound out so it's not so bass heavy or top heavy or whatever. Finally, I want to add, well, there's going to be one more thing, but some reverb. Now this is interesting. I want to use this to control this. So let's bring it something like that. Okay. I don't ever like to go too much past halfway, because past halfway would be more reverb than real sound, right? Because if this is a wet and dry, and this was, you know, dry and this is wet, this is right in between. So that's 50% dry, 50% wet. So I never like to go in my reverb unless it's like creating a weird kind of spatial effect. Cool. So let's hear what this sounds like. Oh, I'll go down here and type in Vern. I can't type. Cool. Notice how that closes right after. I really like that. Let's bring it down a bit more. Awesome. Very cool. And finally, I'm going to add not a filter, but an EQ. I'm going to roll off any lows because it's an arpeggiator. And let's get that Q down a bit. And maybe I'll just shelf up the top a little bit, right? Super. Sound is sounding really, really good. I think this is a really nice ARP. We got ourselves. Oh, we want to call this maybe melody. And now this way, if it's like this, you could then play your own melody in and not have to worry about the notes there. Or you could use that too. Now this, I didn't add too much syncing and stuff like this on this sound because it sounds good at different octaves. It really does. You could play it like, let me see if I close out of this real fast and you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to kind of turn this off. I'm going to go back into my sound here, turn my arm on so I can play it, and let's hear it. That's where we had it. But let's hear it an octave lower. And then a little lower. I mean, so it sounds really good at all the different octaves, so it's up to you how to use it. And sync, I don't think would have translated well in this particular sound because it sounds good at different octaves. It's actually a pretty musical patch we made and not a real sound designy patch. Cool. Well, good work on this one, guys. Don't forget to save it. Up here, we're going to hit save. Okay, we're going to go into our Evenant folder, have an ARP folder for us. Call this one Ready Go. Okay, boom. The one we made is a little different than the one I had, and I like it, so I saved it as Ready Go 1. All right, deuces.